presentation is I consider myself a fairly new to him. I've been doing it for 5 years, and I know nothing about CW. And I Googled a few things, tried to get into it, tried to do an app, and I just couldn't seem to stick with it. I have a feeling there's a lot of people with the same frustrations, and so hopefully Carolyn will be able to clear some of this up and come up with a useful method so that those of you that want to learn this can do with a minimal amount of frustration. So, Carolyn?
Everybody hear me?
Yes.
So let's start with beginning CW using online resources that are free, LCWO, morsecode.world, and FKCC. Let's look at some reasons to learn CW. You can get more DX contacts. You can do more contests. If you look at your QST magazine, probably half the contests in CW. It creates new brain connections, which is why the brain is over there. It helps with neuroplasticity of the brain. You can go farther with less power and equipment, and you can use the full extent of the band. So if you're just doing SSD right now, you know, that's the green side of the band. There's all the red side that you might not be using. If you learn CW, you've got full use of the bands. What do you need to get started? Just a computer, a tablet, or smartphone with an Internet connection, a simple straight key, an oscillator, or a rig with side tone, and motivation, and maybe a pencil and paper. Let's go to lcwo.net. This is a free resource, and it stands for Learn CW Online. And you can learn it in your browser. You don't need to install a program on your computer. You will always have your personal settings available from anywhere in the world, and it tracks your progress with statistical functions. You can sign up for a free account. It's always going to be free. In fact, they will not take donations. Or you can use username test, password test if you just want to play around. So let's go up to the login screen. Right underneath that login box, you'll see the sign up hyperlink.
Speak up a little bit, Carolyn.
Okay.
Could you hold the mic straight onto your mouth instead of side?
Okay.
There you go.
All right.
There you
Okay.
go.
So here we are at the lcwonet login, and underneath the login box, you'll see the sign up hyperlink. So we'll go there, and you sign up online. You don't have to mail anything in. There are only 2 required fields: username and password. But you can enter your email, name, location, and of course you want to put in your language. There are dozens of languages available because this is used around the globe. I highly recommend that you do put in your email, name, and location in case other people want to get in touch with you and you want to have contacts within the group. Once you get your account, this is the menu. This uses the Ludwig Koch method. Ludwig Koch was a psychologist who researched the best way to learn CW, and what he did laid a foundation for most of the courses that are taught today. So this uses his principles. You'll see the introduction. There are 40 lessons. By the time you get to lesson 40, you'll have learned all the alphabet, numbers, prosigns, and some punctuation marks that you'll need. There's a Morse machine to generate code for you to practice. And then once you get some letters under your belt, you'll want to go into speed practice, doing code groups, plain text training, word training, call sign training. You don't need QDC training, that's just for Europe. And miscellaneous, you can convert text that you upload into CW, if you're interested in that, your favorite novel. And you can download MP3 practice files, so you can carry those around on your portable device. Let's go to the introduction. Again, we're using the Koch method, and you start with 2 letters, K and M, in lesson 1. And after each lesson, you'll learn another letter, figure, or prosign. And it's an honor system. You decide when you want to proceed to the next lesson. They won't block you, but they recommend you do this as soon as you copy the letters with 90% accuracy. Let's talk about character and effective words per minute. This is a common term used in CW. The default speed for new users is 20 words per minute characters. That's actually the number of times that you can do the word Paris using those characters per minute. And then 15 words per minute effective. Effective speed sends the code at the character speed, but it adds some padding in between the characters, so it gives you more time to recognize the characters when you're learning. It slows things down a bit. So they recommend that you may want to reduce the effective speed as you're learning, but to keep the words per minute characters up between 15 and 20. Okay? And we're going to learn CW by sound and not by chart. So if you have a chart like this up on your wall, you want to take it down. You won't be using that because it just adds another layer of complexity to the translation process. You're going to just learn with your ears. So open up your ears to listen. And here we are at lesson 1. We'll learn K and M. You have 2 play boxes on the screen. The left one is for K, the right one is for M. Let's start with K. You'll want a pad and paper as well. The first time in the Koch method, you just listen and you write a mark on your paper when you hear the sound. So it's listen and mark, listen and mark, listen and mark. And we'll see, make sure I've got this on. Okay. We'll see what that sounds like. So you're just okay. Listen and mark. Just make an X or something on the paper. Okay. Now the second time, let me go back. The second time in the Koch method, you're going to listen, and now you're going to write the letter K. So listen and write the letter. Listen and write the letter. Write the K, 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 K. Okay? After you can recognize the letter, it's time to use your key and oscillator. So now you're going to listen and send the letter. But what you want to do before you do that is slow down the character effective words per minute to about 15 and 5 to give you time to key the character. And aim to match the rhythm and sound of the computer with your key, and it's a good idea to record yourself. So let's listen to that. Okay? After you've learned the K and M letters, you want to go down to the practice text box, and this is a minute-long exercise, and the computer will play groups of 5 characters of K and M all mixed up. I recommend you write them down on a pad of paper and then transcribe them into the window, and you want to include the spaces between the 5 groups, and then just press the check result button down there, and your percentage will be displayed, and any letters that you missed will be highlighted. Let's go back here again. I want to show you something else. Right over here, there's a change hyperlink. So if you press that, you can change the CW settings. So here's where you can change the character, effective speed. You can change the tone. Right now it's at 750 hertz. But you can adjust it to between 300 and 1,000. So whatever your ear likes to hear, you can adjust it there. You can change the group length. If you find that 5 letters in a group is a bit of a challenge when you're first learning, you can change that down to 2 or 3 and then work your way back up to 5. You can change the group length from fixed to random to groups from 2 to 7 characters. And you're ready to move to the next lesson when you achieve 90% or more on the 5-character exercise. And then you can also download the letters you've learned as an MP3 to reinforce what you've already learned. This is your login page at LCWO. There's a menu on the left, which is cut off here. but it will show you your user stats, so track your progress in your lessons and your practice exercises. And you'll see the graph up there, right up here. There's another hyperlink called Show Statistics. So if we click on that, you'll get a breakout of your statistics, minimum and maximum percentages, the number of attempts you made, your average, and your time spent in days per lesson. You can also display it in graph format. LCWO has a discussion forum. You can sort it by thread, number of posts or last posts, or you can start a new thread. They have a user list. That's why I recommend that you add more than your username and password, but put your location and email in there so that you can contact other users and they can contact you, and you can set up chats or SCAD or practice sessions. They have user groups, so you can list them and page through them. I like to display them on a map. If you hover over one of these markers, it will bring up a summary box, what the user group is all about. You can just click on that and bring up their profile, decide if you want to join that user group. All right? So now let's talk about choosing a key. There are many types of keys used in CW. Some of the major ones are a straight key. That's a nice Kent straight key on the left. It's about a $200 key. There are bugs, cooties, and paddles. And for beginners, we do recommend that you start with a straight key. The advantages are a straight key mimics the on-off pattern of the code, and it doesn't have a lot of complicated automated functions that can complicate your learning, and it's very easy to make the adjustments on a straight key. So you don't have to spend $200 on one. You can go to cwmorse.us, and here are some 3D printed keys. They're made in the United States. Their contacts are solid brass, and the base is anodized aluminum, and you can pick these up for just under $40. They come in many shapes. I'm showing you the camelback keys. They're very popular. And within that, you can have more options. There's a bullseye with thumb rest, or Navy style. They also offer some straight key accessories at cwmorse.us. There's a practice oscillator for about $50. A cable from your key to your oscillator. This particular one is a stereo ended cable that may or may not match the input that you need. We'll talk about that later. Here's some more straight key practice oscillators. MFJ makes one called the 557, and it is both a practice oscillator and straight key. It lists for about $100, but you can pick one up for about $75 to $85. They're very nice. Or you can pick up just an oscillator on eBay or Amazon, like the one on the left here, for under $25, but it sounds pretty chintzy. But, I mean, it's cheap. What I did, and what I still do, is I use my rig side tone for practice. Your HF rig should produce a side tone when you're in CW mode, when the CW key contacts meet. If it doesn't, you should look in your user manual for the menu option to turn that on. And the sound is generally much better than a practice oscillator. It's very well modulated. And of course, it's cheaper. If you already have your rig, you don't have to invest in an oscillator. If you do this, if you do use your rig as for practice, you need to make sure that you turn the break-in function off so that you are not transmitting when you touch the key while practicing. If you touch the key and you see your red light come on, you know you have break-in on. So read your rig manual to find the break-in setting. Usually it's combined with the Vox button. Vox is used for a single sideband, and then when you're in CW mode, it will flip over to the break-in function. Or I've seen a rig where it was actually a separate button. Here's the back of my Kenwood TS590 SG rig, and I'll show you how you're going to connect your key to your rig, your straight key. Here we have two inputs for CW, the key port and the paddle port. The key port takes a 1/8 of an inch mono plug, so not the connector that we saw before. This is for a straight key or a bug. And the paddle port takes a 1/4 inch stereo plug for paddles, but you can plug in a mono 1/4 inch and to use a bug, but you have to make some other adjustments if you're gonna use a bug. But this way you can actually have two keys plugged in at the same time, both a straight key and a bug or a paddle. So if you're in a contest and you run into somebody that's doing really slow speed code, you can switch over to your straight key. Somebody's doing really fast speed, then you can just switch to your paddle or bug. It's a nice feature. This is the back of an ICOM 7600. There is a straight key jack. It's option 10 here, right there. And that takes, they said in their manual, it takes a 1/4 inch standard plug. But you can also plug a straight key into the front panel, electronic key jack, but then you have to set the keyer mode to straight key because that is attached to a keyer. That's where you normally plug in panels. And that's the F3 function in CW mode. Here's a Yaesu rig, FTDX 3000. There's only one, let's see if I can find it, I think it's right there. There's only one input for both CW straight key and paddles. Turn the electronic keyer option off if you're going to plug a straight key in there, and it does take a 1/4 inch stereo plug. So those are things to know. Look in your manual about your rig before you buy your connector to hook up your key. Let's talk about some techniques. There are a couple of styles of using a straight key. There's the American style and the European style. You can see this Navy man here has his elbow and arm on the table. This is the American style, and it uses a wrist motion to engage the key. You can find a video of this on YouTube. It's called the U.S. Navy Training Video, Technique of Hand Sending Morse Code. It was made in 1944, so it's right up to date. Here's the European style. We have Tony EI2KC from Ireland, and you notice he has his elbow and arm in the air, not on the table. So that is the European style. And you can see a number of these on YouTube, European style in use. All right, let's move on to some ear training. One of the key components to being a successful CW operator is knowing your letters and being able to pull them out instantaneously, really without thinking about them. If you have to think about them, you're not going to really develop much of a high speed. So we're going to go into something called ICR, Instant Character Recognition. And why do we need it? There was a lady, Nancy Cott. She also did some research, like Ludwig Koch, on how to best learn CW. She's now a silent key. Her call sign was WZ8C. And I'm just going to read this to you. She wrote, after learning the alphabet, hams seemingly reach a plateau, a period where they can't make further progress. Usually they can copy 5 or 6 words per minute fairly well, but they go to pieces above 7 or 8 words per minute. The answer is simple. They have not adequately learned the alphabet. So it's learned, but it's not enough. The key is to overlearn the alphabet so it becomes so ingrained in your brain that it's second nature. In psychology, there is a law of contiguity which says that if 2 events occur no more than 1/2 second apart, the mind associates the 2 events. So we definitely want this. This means when a Morse code character is heard and it is followed within 1/2 second by a spoken letter of the alphabet, the mind will associate the Morse sound with the translation. The association works automatically, as when a workman thinks lunch when he hears the noon whistle blow. He doesn't even think about it, but we quickly forget things learned by this association method, so we need to overlearn them to make the code a part of our permanent memory, a long-term memory. So now we'll go to morsecode.world for ICR practice. On the home page, you have a couple of options. There's International Morse Code and American Morse Code. And actually you want to pick International Morse Code. That is the standard for amateur radio. And then just select Instant Character Recognition under Training. This will bring up a screen of your letters. Now at the top here, you do have some tabs to choose from. There's Alphabetical, CW Academy, Koch, LCWO, and LICW, which stands for the Long Island CW Club. We want to choose LCWO, and that will bring up the letters in the order that you're learning them at lcwo.net. So let's start with K. We'll choose the characters by type. We're doing letters right now. And there's our K displaying in the message box, and we have playback controls. And it's very important to set the character and effective words per minute between 27 and 32. This is what Nancy found out in her testing. So here we've set it to 30 and 30, which is pretty fast. Some of the options that we want to select is option 3, recognition time. It's the time for you to recognize that you just heard a K. And remember that you're aiming for a half second or less total time between the time it plays and the time you recognize it. Keep adjusting that down until you're at about 50 or 25 milliseconds, right down here. It starts, the default is 800. I've got this set to 200, but you can work your way down from there. Then option 4, show and say after. We want to choose speech right here, because we want the computer to say the letter after it is played and after the recognition time has elapsed. And then we're going to say the letter before that time. So the key here is to relax, listen, and then instantly say. You put your pencil down, close your eyes, lean back. This is done totally in your head. Listen, say the letter, and then hear the computer voice. Aim to recognize and say the letter before the voice says it. And if you beat the voice at least 60% of the time, adjust the recognition time down, and you're going to drill that down into your long-term memory. Okay, 2 or 3 minute sessions are adequate for one day. So it's pretty easy to do, to get that in every day. And let's hear an example of that. K.
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 Okay, that will go on for about 2 to 3 minutes, and it may seem meaningless and boring, but it's very effective in getting that into your long-term memory. And if you do these ICR exercises, you'll start to hear letters pop out at you when you hear them on the air. Speaking of on the air, let's go and do some QSO training. It's a really good idea to get on the air as soon as possible in your learning journey, even if it's just to listen. And relax while doing this. Getting stressed out makes it harder to make out the code. As I said in the beginning, you can pick out some of the letters you've learned, like say, I recognize a K, and give yourself a pat on the back for that. And as you learn more letters and do your ICR training, they will just start to pop out at you without you thinking about them. And then words, because you can also do word training in ICR. And finally, you will copy or get the gist of a whole QSO exchange. And let's go to SKCC to get on the air. This stands for Straight Key Century Club, and their website is skccgroups.com. To join the SKCC, this is their homepage. You'll just go up to this menu on the left, and right there under Getting Started, it says Join SKCC. It's free, by the way. It'll bring up their online membership form, and that's totally online. You don't have to mail anything in. Now here, you should fill in all of the, well, you have to fill in all of the blanks on the form except for comments. That's your first and last name, on-air name, call sign, city, SPC, and email address. SKCC membership is for life, so you'll always be a member. You're assigned a sequential membership number. It's used in probably all of the SKC QSOs. You may start to be known by your number instead of your call sign. And you're entered into the membership roster available for lookup by other members. Right down here under Getting Started is the Beginner's Corner. And on